The study session to order. First up, we have public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to a roundtable discussion amongst council members. Council, do you have anything you'd like to discuss this evening? Go ahead, Dave.
I had I guess a procedural question on minutes. Do we consider the written minutes that we approve that are like documented by staff, are those the official minutes, or would it be the official minutes that we like record with video and audio and stuff like that?
So city council,
Yeah.
the official minutes are the written minutes, and at each of your meetings, when you motion to approve the minutes, that's when they become official.
So like if there was ever a question about what was said during the meeting, we would go to those official minutes?
Yeah. And so if there's, yeah, so that's the answer. You would go do what's written down. Those are the official minutes.
Okay. Would it, I mean, does it important that like what's on the video agree with what's in the written minutes?
Yeah, it should. When you talk about minutes, there are multiple ways people do them. The bare minimum, the minutes only have to record the actions,
Okay.
not the dialogue. Some people like to do summaries and, go into detail on what they heard being discussed during the meeting. Some people just do, the agenda item was approve a swing set, motion by Doe, supported by Doe to approve a swing set. And that is bare minimum. That's the only thing that's required per the Open Meetings Act and Robert's rules.
So if they're like discussion items, I guess I'm wondering for my review of minutes, should I be looking for like, oh, the discussion, something might have been omitted from a discussion item or something wasn't clear in a discussion item in the written minutes? Like, should I worry about that or?
Go ahead, Joe.
I think that's a discussion for each individual council member. I can tell you in my past practice, I never really enjoyed trying to write down, council member X said this, because there's dialogue going back and forth the whole time. And unless you're a court reporter, you're not going to get all that down. So we would usually just say, the council discussed, this project and, in summary, these are the items. But it's really just that motion that was made at the end is all that matters. This would be a good thing to put on a topic, for discussion for all of council to think about, how detailed you want those minutes to be. One thing we don't want to do is misrepresent or mischaracterize someone's motion. Or if we say, Joel said the earth is green, but really what Joel said was it's kind of brownish green, and I wanted the brown to be in there because we aren't watering it enough. I would be not slighted, but like, you guys aren't really capturing what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
So,
I think in the minutes, I don't always see when we have a vote and say it's 6-1 or whatever the vote would be, the motion, the yeses don't need a description, but I think any of the noes are justified if they say, I voted no because I like trees. Then that should be noted as a no because it's not part of the motion, it was why.
But if you vote nay, you don't have to give a reason.
They don't.
No.
But if you want it in the minutes, why? I think if we state it, then it should, the nays should be in there if it's stated why.
Michaela, you're the one that takes minutes and has some experience doing so. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, if that's what all of council wants me to do, is start to include explanations, then I will do it. Obviously, there needs to be a majority of council that does decide that.
Right, as far as like recording minutes.
Yes.
I feel like they're pretty representative of the meetings. If council wanted more detail in, then we, like Joel said, we could put this on a study session and really delve into it a little bit more. But I just wondered with your experience
Yeah, I mean, if the majority of council does want me to start adding stuff to minutes, then I'm more than happy to.
And if there's something we can amend, if there's something that you'd like amended. Dave, is there a reason that you're asking the question, or?
I mean, there were a couple of things that came up. Well, and this is another interesting one. So if I wanted to clarify something in the HDC minutes, because we're not approving those tonight, but they're in there, is there a way to do that, or?
That would,
Yeah, at the HDC
Yeah.
level.
So would I would have to wait until
Yeah,
HDC
at the
meeting?
HDC level is when, because they are the board that approves that. They approve their own minutes.
But we'll talk about it tonight?
Yeah, I mean, it's,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what's, like, in those minutes, I think there's something didn't get represented correctly in there that I had said, so I wanted to make sure if I should talk about that tonight, or, it's the Home Depot, like, if you read that item, Home Depot did tell her no, and then the Realtor also,
Okay,
and so I wanted to make sure that, and also it wasn't that I was wondering if we should do more to educate, I was just wondering what the current, how Realtors know whether or not something's in the historic district. So I didn't want it to come across like I was asking for something in there. But that was just one of the details that kind of stood out, and I wasn't sure what the standard was for those, and then also in the study session, there was like, the discussion about the Riverfront Committee, and I had asked where the, agendas and minutes were stored online, and that didn't get captured in that discussion point. So I can offer that amendment tonight too.
yeah.
But I wasn't sure if those things, like, should I be watching for those things in council's opinion, or like?
I've never like seen it be that detailed. I mean, usually it's just like there was a general discussion held, but if there's something I would say that each council member wants to have noted and it's not in those minutes, then you can amend it at that time, just to say, hey, could you include this and amend them? I don't know.
I mean, I would say, if there's something in there that says, like this instance, that says, you said this and that's not really what you said, I think you definitely need to have that amended.
Okay.
Because you want to be properly represented, but I
Yeah.
don't know that we need to say that it always has to be that detailed for every
Yeah.
meeting.
Sure, I understand that. I've noticed there's like more details maybe than in past years, so that's why I was starting to go like, okay, how closely should I pay attention to these, and how worried should I be about, what the details say, and if there's things that are omitted. Like the other one was for the HDC business meeting, Joel let us know the PCI wasn't gonna be there anymore. And I didn't know if that was like an important business item that should be included in those minutes or not, or if you guys.
I guess if I had questions on the minutes, I would message Michaela and say, or you can copy Joel or whoever and say, can this be added, or wait a minute, that's not what I said, or that's not what I heard, can we check this out or something ahead of the council meeting is what I would do.
I just wasn't sure how much leeway I have for that sort of, I don't want to be like demanding things get added to the minutes. Certainly, I think if like something isn't represented correctly, that seems
Yeah.
like something we should.
Yep, definitely.
Cool. Did that answer your question, Dave, or did you have further questions?
I think so. Yeah, for now, I think that makes sense.
Okay. Did anyone else have anything for roundtable? I've just got a couple things. First thing is that I did attend last week, Thursday. Zach took me around for a water tour, and it was really, really helpful. As I explained to him, I mean, I trust that our staff are trained and they know what they're doing, but to have a little bit more knowledge of some of the things that they talk about, like, our water plant technically has 2 systems. So when we talk about iron filtration and the reverse osmosis system, that's like 2 separate things. So, when we talked about doing the media, to know actually where that media is going, or, the lift stations, quite frankly, I thought that was part of like distribution. I didn't realize that it was lifting to the water treatment facility. So to know, like, to get some of that information was extremely helpful, and I would highly recommend that any council members that wanted to do that, just reach out to Doug or somebody at any of the departments. I think they'd all be willing to give us some more information, but that was really awesome. So I'm very appreciative of that. And then also, I know our ORV ordinance is on the agenda for regular session. We had tabled the vote at the last meeting, but thought it would be good just to kind of go through it. We had a few emails today from Joel, kind of just see what everyone is thinking, if you're comfortable with that ordinance where it's at. So yeah, Joel, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just one, make sure council's fully aware. If you look at the definition that Nick Curcio put together, that's anything from 2 to 4 wheels. Nick feels that's the safest defensible definition. So that includes 2-wheel vehicles, probably like mini bikes. That's what we called them when I was younger. 3-wheel vehicles, so 3-wheelers, 4 wheels, which are what we would call quads. And, you know, then that's it. And then side-by-sides are also 4 wheels. So I just wanted you guys I wanted to be clear on that, because I read over it the first time and some department head said, Joel, you know that means 3 wheels. I'm like, yeah, I do now. Thank you for letting me know.
So the way that the latest incarnation that we've received with Nick's new verbiage, it's like amphibious isn't allowed, nor tracked vehicles, but anything else that falls under the actual ORV definition would be. Where before, when we had it with the UTVs and we had the additional language that it was no 3 or 4 wheelers, that was something separate. We had looked at South Havens, but as you saw from your email, Nick was not in favor of that. So that's where we are right now.
The other thing is we've reached out to Scott Engineering. They do our bridge inspections. The Trestle Bridge is not one of the 3 bridges that we're required to have inspected by MDOT. So they are looking into it to see what the weight capacity would be on that bridge. And then the other thing is I want to be very clear that you understand the map that was in there. So the ordinance as written lines up with the map that is on the screen that was also in your packet. Everything that's green is available for people to ride ORVs on if this ordinance passes. The areas that are red, as the ordinance is written, are not. The reason the most of downtown is shown in red on there is because when I try to read the room and council members reach out to me, the majority of council, I got the feeling, did not want to see ORVs on Hubbard, Chestnut, Locust. If that's different, then we can go ahead and delete those and, you know, play with that. But at the end of the day, it does not negate the fact that to get into downtown, you would have to come down from the north side, and I'm gonna, you know, eventually get to North Street, and then cross the Trestle Bridge if we make the Trestle Bridge a multi-use trail. Then we'd have to invest probably some asphalt or concrete to either connect the trail to the police station parking lot or the J.C. Park Drive. And then they would be able to cross M222 at Chestnut Street. At Chestnut Street and J.C. Park Drive. And we can pull up Google Street View if you want to look at that closer, if you're having a hard time getting your bearings there.
Joel, I'm sorry, would you open Chestnut Street then?
Yeah, so, yeah.
How far in?
So on that map,
Yeah.
what we're showing, I'm gonna try to grab a mouse here. You would take Chestnut to Cutler, and then Cutler. So Chestnut to Cutler, and then Cutler to Water. That would get you to the Cutler Street parking lot, as well as the Village Market Express, or Village Market gas station, and the Shell gas station. You will not be able to bring an ORV down M89, as you know from the communications with MDOT and the previous memos. We need 8-foot shoulders for state trunk line connector route. Those do not have 8-foot shoulders. You will not be able to bring an ORV from, down Grand Street, so from River down Grand over the M222 bridge, because that most definitely does not have 8-foot shoulders. It has no shoulders. It has a road and then a raised kind of sidewalk, as I would call that. And then you would not be able to bring an ORV down into this area because this is M89, M40. You will not be able to bring, because you will not be able to bring an ORV from down where Bill lives, because you jump onto M40 and then you can't cross here. You have to drive in a travel path, and that's not allowed. And then, for the time being, if you change Hubbard to green, you would be able to jump here, but in 2025, when the roundabout goes in, you're then traveling in the travel lane. So we were able to work with MDOT and figure out that, if the goal is to get people down here. Now, if people can't get downtown, you can still pass the ordinance, and residents that have ORVs can exit the city, and get out on the county roads and explore the county. People who want to bring an ORV into the county fairgrounds, they could come in, down Delano and peel off here. They can come up Ely and peel off here, because the townships that surround us have allowed them on all their streets. This area would still be difficult. They'd have to find a way to get to this side of town to come in. We're just in a difficult situation for access downtown. We're blessed with the Kalamazoo River that meanders through here. We also have 3 state trunk lines that converge on our downtown. And we have hills and valleys that make, bridge projects difficult to get that extra shoulders, wide. So right now, we have some geographic constraints on this. We've already had one individual who had the police called on them because they drove into something sweet. And they weren't very happy that, the police were called on them. I don't know who called the police, but that person was not happy. So there's going to be an enforcement, arm to this as well. Similar with golf carts. They see, someone going home on Grand Street, they're probably going to pull them over and say, you can't have a golf cart on the hill. So.
So our options this evening would be to adopt the ordinance as we have it, the latest iteration. We could technically table again for further research and rewrite. Or we could vote no, not allow ORVs.
Motions have to be in the affirmative. That's the only thing.
So we
So
could
you
put it
can't-
forward, but then
Yeah.
vote no.
Yep.
So are there anything, we could also amend it. So if there's anything, I just kind of want to discuss, if there's anything that we're looking to amend, I prefer that we kind of have that hashed out, figure that out, so we can make the motion at the regular meeting to form an amendment. Dave, did you have something?
Curiosity, I guess, about downtown. So golf carts would still be allowed downtown. Is there like a good distinction between golf cart and like a 4-wheel UTV that, like if somebody sees somebody driving a golf cart downtown and they're like, hey, that's an ORV, are we gonna be able to say one way or another?
You don't have to license a golf cart as an
Okay.
ORV, so that's,
And you have to have your sticker on, that's already
And
had to
then,
go
yeah,
through the
you
police
get a-
department.
we still have the registration through the city for golf carts.
So UTV is utility terrain vehicle. An ORV is an off-road vehicle. Could be, yeah, like a gator, like a side-by-side. Or a mule, and I do want to be clear, this stops at 4 wheels. So like this weekend when I was down in Kentucky with a bunch of ORVs, my brother has a 6-wheel ORV. That would not be allowed, through this definition.
So if I'm understanding the answer to the question, it's, we've got the licensing for the golf carts through the city. The state has their ORV license. Those are exclusive. You couldn't have an ORV license and a city golf cart license.
Correct. That, in our golf cart ordinance, we have a definition of what a golf cart is. We have the requirements, windshield, turn signals, et cetera. So, and those are inspected and licensed by our police department. Some golf carts do have bigger tires than the golf carts you'd see on a golf course. But the distinction between a golf cart and a Polaris Razor, you know the difference when you see them. One's designed for trail riding, one's designed for smooth riding.
And speed, I mean, the ability for
The ability to get up and get going.
velocity.
Well, it sounds like the answer really is that our process defines them. So you get a golf cart license, and then you can go where golf carts can go. But if you have an ORV license, you can't get a golf cart license, and you can only go where ORVs go.
And besides the downtown streets, golf carts also cannot go on state trunk lines. They can cross over, yeah. They can't go on sidewalks. If a police officer sees someone rolling down a sidewalk, they can't, do that. They can't go against traffic. So even with the golf carts, it's very, limited or restricted to get into the downtown area.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to open this can of worms.
No.
So I'm just, as I'm looking, because I've been one that I don't really want stuff going on downtown so much, but because North Street is the only way to get in to the city, should we open Hubbard to the county lot to let people come in from the south side as well?
Apologize. This is Hubbard right through here.
Yeah,
Open into what county lot?
by the courthouse, the big lot. Or is that just?
So do
Well-
you bring Hubbard Street down to
Yeah.
Chestnut maybe?
So there's two things. If you park in the county lot and you're not there for county business, you're taking a risk.
Yeah,
Just so you know, that's not a public lot. That is a county-owned lot.
I thought after 5 PM that we could use things, or is that only?
There's nothing official. It's kind of just, it's the way the community operates here. Same with the Perigo lot over by, behind the Iron Bridge and Sherwoods. People park there, but Perigo owns that parking lot.
So that's not a good,
And then, when the roundabout goes in,
yeah,
you won't be able to cross Hubbard, because there's no crossing of a roundabout. You go through that traffic motion. So it'd be a temporary, approval.
And I did meet with Scott Beltman and kind of discuss some of these possible changes to the ordinance. And he actually does all of the Polaris trails, the maps on the Polaris app. So he said he would be very cognizant as he put these up. I guess for me, I feel like there's enough side roads. I mean, maybe people from town don't really realize that you can get downtown pretty much from anywhere. It's just not a straight route down one of those state trunk lines. So if they're coming in, from Little John Lake, let's say, they can come down Ely, cross over,
Right there.
yeah,
Right there.
yeah.
For now.
for now.
Yeah.
Because they can't go back up Hubbard Street.
Unless you open all of Hubbard up and Locust.
I say they just have to
If you still
figure out crossways.
get out of town on Hubbard. If-
Oh, yeah, Hubbard's one way. You're correct, so it's one way out.
Right.
I don't want, I would not be in favor.
All right, so I don't know how they can get out of town.
They could get out of town if you'd open up Trowbridge as well, because Trowbridge is one way out.
But that's step 222.
But, well, no, Trowbridge isn't right here. You can come out past the Catholic Church, jump across Trowbridge here, come to Pine, whip around Hubbard, and go up this way. For the time being. But you won't be able to enter that way because Trowbridge is one way out.
So tell me again about the state of the Trestle Trail. What's the plan for that now?
So the Trestle Bridge, we do not know what the weight-bearing capacity is on that, first of all. We're having Scott Engineer look into that for us. If you would approve this ordinance, we would come back to you at your next meeting with a resolution to make the Trestle Trail a multi-use path that is accessible by pedestrians, bicyclists, golf carts, and ORVs per our ordinance. We would have to, like I said, some minor improvements, because right now we got 2 barricades on each end to prevent vehicular traffic on the bridge. We'd have to shift those a little bit. I think it's like 60 inches or whatever is the width. And we'd have to shift it so, you know, a small ORV or quad could get through there. Right now, golf carts can maneuver around that without an issue. And then we'd have to come up with a price, a cost, to cut in a new path to connect the trail to either the police station driveway or the J.C. Park driveway, because there's 2 pillars, I believe, that make it kind of difficult. Yeah, there's a seating area. So there's some physical improvements we have to look at in that area.
Is there signage that's gonna go on the roads that are not allowed?
So I think we would have to invest in some signage, and Doug and I talked about this. We don't want to go crazy with signage. The majority of the city is going to be open to ORVs, but we probably, at the entrance to J.C. Park, have like an ORV trail, some signage in that area.
So like, since the only way in is over the bridge for downtown, on that bridge or somewhere coming in, could we then post a picture of what is allowed? And then that should but,
Yeah.
yep,
Are you thinking like a map with
yeah.
directions?
Kind of like at the mall, it's, you're here, and this is where this other stuff is. And so then they know what roads
I-
are allowed and not, all in one swoop without a million signs every road.
I think Scott Beltman told us most of them will know where they're going when they come. And they're gonna have their route figured out when they came, or
Yeah,
when they come.
He did mention signage would be helpful, but I'm just thinking at the entrance or even the little social district signs. You know, you could, a ORV path or something like that, but.
Yeah.
So is anyone leaning towards amendments to this? Are we happy with the way it's been presented, the most recent presentation?
I personally am ready to be done with it.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other, okay. All right. Is there anything else for roundtable? If there's no further discussion on that.
I have an item on the Iron Bridge. I'm wondering, I know we had talked about when we kind of approved that design for the one-way, having like almost a turn lane for folks that are coming down that hill to kind of get out of the flow of traffic before they really have to slow down. I think in my head I was picturing like a little bit more of a area for that to happen.
I got this. Yeah, so that project is funded partially with MDOT funds. So the deceleration lane, which may not be as long as we want, went through their whole review process with their engineers, and they approved that design. And that's an MDOT state trunk line.
Huh, so that didn't, so it is different than what we'd looked at before?
I can't recall exactly what you guys looked at before, but that, the plans in the final construction as they are, went through the appropriate review procedures at MDOT in Lansing.
Okay. Just thinking how tricky that's gonna be, like, especially in wintertime, folks coming down there, not, slowing down traffic, and I guess based off my understanding of what we talked about before, I thought there was going to be a deceleration lane to kind of make that a little safer.
Thanks, Dave. Anything else from anyone for roundtable? Okay, seeing nothing else, we will go ahead and move down to the discussion regarding section 2-323 and 2-324 of the City of Allegan Code of Ordinances. Joel, did you want to start with that, or you want
Sure,
Mike
yeah.
or I to explain? Okay.
I'll kick it off real quick. So as you know, there's a subset of council that's going through each chapter in our Code of Ordinances. I think you guys are through 4 or 5 chapters? Yeah, right? So they're making some good headway on this. They've got to a point where they kind of want to come back and have a larger discussion with the council on one section because the 3 of them can't agree on where they should land on this one. So right now for approvals, anything beneath 1,000 department heads and some select staff can approve without my, review and approval. Anything between 1 and 5, I can approve without council's approval as long as, it's a budgeted item. And then anything above 5, we have to bring to council. So the question that's before you is, one of the council members would like to raise that $5,000 limit up to $10,000. One is comfortable going up probably to $7,500, and then one's comfortable, I think, where they are. But they felt that this would be a good discussion to have with the larger council when it comes to purchasing thresholds and permissions for the city manager's office and department heads before we go too far, with this chapter.
Thanks, Joel. I know our previous council, this had come up a couple times, and Dave, you and Tracy Perigo were kind of the spearheads of this, like the different threshold amounts. And, excuse me, if we had approved something at the budget sessions, did we need it to come back forward again? So I will say I am the person that thought we could raise the threshold to $10,000. So that would be something that was a budgeted item that Joel could approve without having to come back to council and get like an approval for it. To me, 5,000 is a pretty low limit, especially when you're dealing with some equipment and things like that. So that was just kind of where that started, and you were looking for council's opinion. Mike, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I was one that just wanted to leave it alone. It doesn't take a lot of time for us. Then we really do know where the money is going. Just my thoughts on that.
Okay. So, Joel, part of that process, I know it slows you down, but does it also provide you some level of protection that no one accuses you of doing something untoward because you've got council approval? I mean, I'm fine with raising it because I think everything's pretty transparent, but does it, giving you a higher ceiling, does that open you up to more accusation?
I don't think it opens me up to accusations more than the 5,000 because it's still budgeted. Council still receives the AP report every 2 weeks or at each of your meetings. And I think if someone wants to be critical of purchases, they're going to be critical whether if it's, a $3, box of pens or a $3,000,
I would agree with that, and
Bunch
just
of gears.
from, like, my conferences that I go to, there are, like he said with the AP report, there are ways that we're, internal controls that we're double checking these things, I mean, within our department as well as, at the council level and things like that. So the thresholds from the MMTA conferences that I go to and the networking and that, there are several communities, I can't remember off the top of my head, how many or which ones, but I can look into it, but most of them have increased theirs. I have listserv messages on this exact same thing, and most of them are at 20,000 for the city manager, because of the things that come up for us. But we are also protected too with our ordinance too in there, where if there's emergency things, Joel can do them. He just has to bring them to you. But just so you know, there are lots of municipalities in Michigan that have a $20,000 limit for the city manager. And you could leave the 5,000 for, or 1,000 for staff, and then Joel would do anything from 1,000 to 20. But that's the norm from what I've seen, just so you guys know.
That's helpful, Tracy, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. Did anyone else have any thoughts?
20,000, you can throw one heck of a party.
And within hours, he would probably be fired. I mean, not that the money wouldn't be gone, but you also have to trust that we aren't gonna, he doesn't just have access to the money either, So there are, like I said, internal controls that prevent most of those things. I'm not saying that they couldn't happen, but hopefully everybody trusts us more than that.
I would just add, for about $300, Joel and I could throw a heck of a party, Councilmember Zeter. I know how to have fun.
Tracy, keep your eyes out for anything like 300 and below.
Joel back to the party won't stop.
Pencils for $300.
Teresa, did you have any thoughts on this?
I think 20,000 is a little much, but I would be very comfortable with $10,000 as long as it's a budgeted item, I think is how that wording would have to be. Or should be, I'm sorry, I didn't mean have to be.
Well, it will have to be. Roger, any opinions?
I would be comfortable with raising.
Okay. Dave, how about you? Any questions or what's your thought?
I guess I'm kind of curious what budgeted item means. I know this has come up before where we were talking about the department heads coming and asking for Doug needs a new pump and so how do, and we've got we've got the different funds, but what does it mean for an item to be budgeted versus just an item that we're going to spend money on?
Tracy, you can take that one.
That sounds like a Tracy.
So when we say an item is budgeted, it's like with our budget document that I just gave you guys, the items that are coming up for the new year that have been listed out there specifically, which are usually in the goals for the upcoming year. We list those things out in that section. And then in the capital line items, you can see it broken down in the capital project, because even those things that are above our thresholds that are like one-time things, capital things that are $5,000 or more, are listed in there, in the CIP part, in that spreadsheet that I have in there. And then they come to council because we still either have to do a purchase order, some of them come in under and over. The budgeted part is just a placeholder for each of those items. If it's in the budget, we still bring it so that you guys know, even though it's in the budget, it doesn't mean that we're just gonna go ahead and buy it July 1st. So, we present the things to you so that you know where we're at that way. And then there are certain times too that we've done it multiple ways when we've needed a budget adjustment. So for instance, we budgeted $5,000 for a lawnmower, but it comes in at $10,000. Then we need a partial budget adjustment. Part of it is in the current budget, part of it is not. And then there are items that come up that we have, like for contractual things that come in, and those are always in the budget from year to year, but not for a specific thing. It's just contractually, we do mowing, just like, for instance, the cemetery is probably the freshest one for all of you, where we've switched people multiple times, so we've had to make budget adjustments for that, even though it was in the budget. We're now over because the contracts were stopped, and then we had to find someone new. So when it's in the budget, you guys have approved this as a goal for the upcoming year. Does that make more sense, or is there part of that you're still unclear on?
Example, Dave, would be, Doug, in the budget wanted a refurbished salt truck, was it, or plow truck? We've already, or we will, it's in the budget. We will approve that. Obviously, that's over the 10,000 or 20,000, whatever we decide. But if it were 20,000, they would not, or 10,000, whatever we decide, they would not have to bring that back to council because we already approved that in the budget.
And I would just add too that sometimes we do bring those back for clarification and just as part of a process, more of, or, you know, process than a, part of the procedure, but we do that just to CYA, basically.
The other thing I would just offer, when we say budgeted, we have budget line items. Building maintenance is a big one. So if there's a, you know, we need to do X on a building, and we have to hire a contractor, and it's, you know, 7,500. I need to bring those back to council. This would, you know, allow us to address those building deficiencies and not bring those, what I'm gonna call, not emergencies, but, you know, things that are timely, that we need to make decisions on and move forward with.
Yeah.
If you're asking my preference, I think 10 is at the high end where I would be comfortable for a community of this size. Tracy's correct. Some communities are 20. If you want to really choke on some Cheerios, Google Kalamazoo city managers and see what his was raised to. And I was like, that's crazy. Port Huron, who's the largest city, they're at 15. So
To be clear, I was just giving you information from what I've seen. I'm very comfortable with the 10. 20 makes me feel like, oh God, I've got so much more, like, even more so, I've got to look at these items above, you know, whatever, but, you know, there's just a little more pressure, but I'm very comfortable with, or more comfortable with 10 than 20. That was just information.
And the way we purchase stuff, just for clarification, you know, we do have city-issued credit cards. My credit card has the highest limit of all the other.
Me and you.
We're the same?
Yep.
Okay, we're the same. The other department heads are not as high as Tracy and I. We also have the ability to do electronic payments. So it's not, and once in a blue moon, we've cut a check. That's been an off-run check to cover something that was below the thresholds. But it's not like we're walking around with a city checkbook, you know, in our back pocket. When I say cut a check, it goes through Tracy, then Carol. And we both have to, you know, both of our digital signatures are imprinted on it. You know, we don't just have, you know.
And it's not just Joel and I, there are several people that the paperwork goes through before any check is cut, period, so.
And so for me, I mean, so the example I like to use is just the building maintenance stuff, because that's a line item, that's a budget that we have to maintain our buildings. And we set money aside for each of the buildings. You know,
And yeah, and on that note, I mean, there's situations where, so we'll budget $10,000 for the Regent in Griswold because we all know something's gonna happen within a year at those buildings that we're gonna have to do. That's not saying, okay, we're redoing the flooring in there or the tuck pointing. That's just a placeholder for if there's a big leak and we have to fix a part of the roof temporarily or whatever. So we budget, you know, like blanket budget item or money for building maintenance. When we have a project scheduled, like we know we're gonna do tuck pointing, we schedule that and that's in the capital improvements and we still leave, almost like a reserve or savings, not even a savings, but placeholder for building maintenance, you know, when we have a planned project happening. So the planned projects are usually in the CIP portion of our budget, and then those are split out and called out, you know, the other things, but then that's why we would bring it to you even if it's a $6,000, roof repair. You know, then we would bring it to you even though it's in the budget, so that you guys know we've had an issue at the Griswold, we have to fix the roof and it costs this much, and, so we're just doing that to protect ourselves when we bring stuff to you guys, even though it's in the budget.
Bill, did you have any thoughts or direction for the ordinance group?
With Inflation, we're all involved with inflation. We all know what that is. It's each and every single one of us. I don't have a problem with 5 and 10. You know, that to me is perfect.
Okay. So if I'm reading 10, we could raise to 10. Is that agreeable? Dave?
I don't know. Think
Okay.
about it, yeah.
All right. Well, we're meeting tomorrow at noon, so we will discuss that further with the group. Next on the agenda, we have a discussion regarding the summer study session outreach meetings. Joel?
A couple council members inquired about canceling the study session on one of the Mondays, so council members may partake in the food truck event downtown. These are the food trucks dates that we have council meetings on. Is there one particular date you would like canceled?
Does it only need to be one?
That was going to be my question.
Could we do one a month?
That's a better idea.
Yeah, one a month, that's what.
We can do less work, yes. It's your council. However you want to proceed is fine by me.
And this would be we might have like our tent out there or something.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, so we've already ordered a tent.
Milling
Yep.
about with our name badges.
Yep, going about. The one thing I would encourage you is do not be in groups of 4 or more, if possible. Just so we don't look like we're violating OMA, having a quorum, talking city business.
But the study session could be called out there.
But that would require everyone to be at one location at one time. And I think the purpose of this was to give council members a chance to be out milling about with the public.
It was kind of an alternative to Cookies with Council, which we don't really have very good attendance at historically, but this would be a way to engage with residents and visitors on a day that was extremely busy last year.
So what do you think if we would just say either the first meeting in the 3 months or the last meeting and be consistent? What do you guys think?
Yeah, easier to remember that way.
Yeah. Does anybody have a preference? The second one?
Okay, second it is. Anybody else have anything? Is that all right with the majority?
Sure.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
Bill?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
technically, we still have a meeting, we're just meeting,
But the,
we're out in the community.
no,
So you're not having a meeting. The study session is canceled. The regular meeting starts at 7. Please be in your chairs by 6:59 if possible.
But we still have a responsibility at 5:30.
Correct.
That's covered.
The intention would be to still be out with
Yeah.
a face for council.
meeting. each
So the mayor has the authority to cancel meetings, I believe,
so that'd be
per our
June.
charter, our rules. So we're going to have to make it official, remove the study session from the calendar and go that route.
Okay,
All right?
There you go.
sounds good. Next, we have a discussion regarding the city council Regent sponsorship. Parker, did you want to take that one?
Not park security?
Did I miss one? Ugh, I crossed it off right before I started talking. Discussion regarding City of Allegan Park Security.
Okay, very quickly. Our riverfront restrooms were constructed 2 years ago. We have cameras down there. It's been vandalized a handful of times. Our J.C. Park restrooms were constructed years ago, and historically, we've always had a vandalism problem down there. Last weekend, the women's stall door was ripped off, and the gates were pulled back or they're damaged. The Parks Department is requested to put security cameras back up down there. That's something we can do. We work with a locksmith out of Plainwell for all of our security cameras, so we get everything on one system. We're gonna get some quotes, and we're gonna look in doing that.
Who suggested that, Joel? I'm sorry.
The Parks Department. The Parks Department that maintains J.C. restrooms,
Oh,
about putting cameras back up. This is going to lead to a larger discussion. Each of the times, the riverfront restroom, not each of the times, but the majority of the times, the riverfront restrooms have been vandalized. We were able to, by we, I mean really Parker Johnson, was able to catch the perpetrator on our videos. It's taken Parker an average like 2 to 3 hours of watching video to see, oh, there they are. Oh, the sign on the wall is ripped off now. Let's scroll back. You know, it's jumping, it's scrubbing a video. We caught the gentleman that busted the mirror because the camera was angled. You saw the mirrors intact. He went to the restroom. When he came out, the mirror was shattered. And so thankfully, the police department was able to track down that gentleman. If it's an adult, we're able to go through, you know, the regular legal proceedings. When it's a juvenile, we're kind of, hands are just a little bit tied, either because we don't want to go through legal proceedings with a juvenile for vandalism, or we're just hesitant on ourselves, you know, to say, you know, what's the appropriate resolution here? We've reached out to our city attorney to talk about if community service is a possible option or if that has to go through the court system. We do have, you know, municipal violations in our ordinance, as, you know, Delora and Mike can, you know, espouse to, because they reviewed that part of the ordinance already. Where your first offense is a $50 ticket, your second's $100, your third's $300, I think, is the way that jumps up. But I kind of want to start having a conversation, not a resolution tonight, but kind of have a conversation. How do you want us to deal with vandalism in our parks? We've been tagged a couple times in graffiti. You know, we catch the person, they say they're sorry, you know, but we never really do, you know, if the resolution is I'm sorry, then that's the resolution. But I want to make sure we're doing whatever is appropriate, because it does negatively affect our, you know, public, you know, surroundings, makes other people uncomfortable. You know, families with young kids don't like to go down to the parks if there's a bunch of older people just hanging out and, you know, doing stuff.
Are these happening in the evening or daytime or all different
Yeah, all different
times?
times.
Nothing consistent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last year, it was typically early afternoon last year. You know, one Saturday, we caught kids climbing on the fireplace and throwing trash in the fireplace, and yeah. Roger's wife, you know, came running down as I was talking to the kids, saying, I got them all on video, Joel, and some of them went this way. I'm going, it's a Saturday afternoon, and I really don't want to do this. This isn't my job, but it is, but it's not. I get phone calls often from Tantric on the riverfront, you know, with stuff they're seeing, saying, Joel, can you get down here? I'm like, sure, let me, you know, put some shoes on and walk on down to the riverfront. So there's just a discussion, I think, as a city council, because we manage the property, but also as a community, because, you know, we've invested a lot of money, and we don't want to see this stuff, you know, get damaged.
Well, maybe we get the police department involved. Maybe that would do some good with children.
So, yeah, that could be one of the discussions that we start having.
And I'm just throwing that out there, but,
Yeah.
you know,
If it's vandalism and the parents aren't there, they need to know about it, so I think
We
the
do,
police do need to get involved.
Yeah, we
And if
do
there's
contact. the police.
monetary stuff destroyed, $50 fine for doing something, it could be way in excess of that. I think the prosecutor should look at that.
Anyone on this side of the table? Thoughts? Or just digesting?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in accountability. And I think that there needs to be consequences for your actions. I mean, I was a stupid kid too, and you have to own up to things sometimes. I don't know, I mean, Joel, we can't have Joel come out, have to put his pants back on every night to come down to the riverfront.
But please
But
don't
putting-
come without
Yeah,
them.
please put your pants on. But, yeah, I don't know, I'm trying to process getting the prosecutor involved and things when we have juveniles. I hate to introduce kids into the legal system earlier than necessary. So I don't know, I have to give that some more thought.
The way the ordinance is right now, I believe, is that we have our civil infractions, and then if there's like additional, like fourth offense, then it would get referred to a prosecuting attorney, which personally, I'm fine with following those civil infractions, like first time 50, second time, I think it's 150, and then 300. But I would like to see a community service component if that's available, like have them clean up the paint with the DPW, in addition to the fine. But whether or not we can do that, I don't know without some sort of court order.
Well, I can tell you from experience in Otsego, we've had kids break into a building. The building was immaculate on the inside, and they went down and broke windows in every door on the interior, broke out historic clocks in there. They were just being kids, but very, very destructive. Caught them in there, told them to stop, they stopped, called the police. It went with a prosecuting attorney, and they negotiated down that the families will pay $12 a month. And so something happened. It happens in the negotiating part. We don't know what all is going to change in the building, so we weren't really that particular. But if somebody breaks out all the toilets, that's more than $50. If they do it a second time, that's more. The families need to know, you need to watch these kids. That's the problem, is they're not. And they need to know that they're your kids and you need to keep a good leash on it.
And at that point, I mean, the police department, if they're involved from the beginning, or if they need to get involved because of the magnitude of the vandalism, I mean, they're going to do a warrant request to the prosecutor's office if it's major. I would assume that if you went down and there was something just absolutely.
Even tagging a building, I mean, Doug, there's time involved, and that's not something you plan to do that day, I'm assuming, is trying to power wash off graffiti or whatever magic you use to try to cure that. And it's just more than a little civil infraction fine. We need to probably take a hard stand on vandalism. That's just not right.
Thanks, Mike. Bill or Dave, any thoughts?
I agree. You do need to take a hard stand. I come from a family of teachers. Yeah, you can say, okay, parents, it's your kids doing this. They don't care. That's why the kids are down there doing it. They need to pay restitution. They need to be fined. I guess I'm more of a hard nose in that case. I was like Roger. I was a goofball when I was a kid. I did some things I shouldn't have done, but I was held responsible for it, and I think every child should be. Whether their parents are going to do it, because they aren't going to do it. We have to do it, or someone has to do it. And we put a lot of money into those things, so it needs to be taken care of.
Thanks, Bill. Dave?
Well, I'm certainly in favor of less vandalism. I think that's a good goal. I guess I'm struggling to figure out what exactly it is we're considering here. But I'm open to if there's other things staff wants to bring back to talk about this.
So security cameras, everybody feel okay with those going back up at JC?
Oh,
Okay.
definitely, yeah.
And so I think, or what I'm hearing is just that we have a process in our code of ordinances for penalties. And whether we actually enforce those penalties, which I don't think we probably always have. Or if then you get law enforcement more involved and do literal warrant requests through the prosecutor's office and prosecute. So you can follow our code of ordinances, or you can get actually a warrant for that child. But juveniles are very difficult. It's a really different system. So I'm sure that's one thing that's kind of stops some of that. And then at that point, like I said, I would say, like, depending on the magnitude of it. I mean, that's just my suggestion, but.
I guess I would have to ask Joel, why would someone call you and not the police? I
also would like to know that question.
mean, I guess all I'm saying is maybe there is no
So.
prosecution, maybe there is no tough stance the first time, but it's possible if that police officer talks to these children, it could make a difference in how that child feels next time.
So the business owners on the riverfront that call me are ones that have strong relationships with me. I've built relationships with the businesses in downtown Allegan. They are open the majority of the hours of any of the businesses down there, so they probably see it more often. And it's probably quick for them to grab their cell phone and just call my number real quick. And then it's teenagers goofing off around a fireplace. Is that really a 911 emergency? Like, I know in previous experiences for me in my personal life, my neighbors being awfully loud with music at, 1 in the morning, and where I used to live, not here. It's wonderful here. Do I call 911 to say, send a police officer over, when they have other stuff they need to be doing? So some people are just hesitant to call 911 unless it's an emergency. I would offer that.
There's a non-emergency number, though.
Yeah,
And we had
there's a-
snow-
Not many people know the non-emergency number. Maybe we just need to publish that more down there.
Yeah, when we had some snowmobilers joyriding in our downtown, I called the non-emergency number and they sent a,
And 2 of the employees at Tantric called me. It said they're on their way to Sherwoods right now. And I texted Jay, I'm like, can you have one of the officers run over to Sherwoods if they're available? Supposedly there's snowmobilers there.
Which is a testament to Joel's responsiveness as well. So, I mean, you always respond to those calls, so.
Is it that there's like a gap in the ordinance for enforcement? I mean, it sounds like we've got all the pieces there, right?
I would say it is unclear about enforcement on youth. And Nick has not responded to me on an inquiry I have to him that I sent to him just late last week saying, can we, make sure we're clear on this stuff. The gentleman that broke the mirror was an adult, and we went through a normal legal process with the police. With the youth, it's a little more hit and miss. One of the youth, the police officer says, I'll work out with you in the weight room afterwards. That lasted for maybe a week, and I could say, I'm done working out in the weight room with you. And Dave, you asked the right question. Like, what are we trying to accomplish with this? There's 2 steps. One is I want to make you aware of some issues in our parks. One that's been going on for a very long time, J.C. Park. And I want to put cameras up down there at the request from the Parks Department. The second thing is, I want to start this conversation with council, since we manage the public spaces, but also larger with the community on how do we address this? Because if you have teenagers running amok, which they have every right to run amok, but if teenagers running amok and causing problems down on the riverfront, families are going to be less apt to come down there and enjoy it with their kids. So I want to make sure, council's just fully aware and have that conversation, because I don't think there is a black and white or, one shoe fits all on how we approach this.
So it sounds like we're gonna be getting a legal assessment on some aspects of our ordinance that then we'd be able to consider. Was that it? Is there anything else that,
Just get the conversation going.
okay.
And man, I sure hope you guys go after these meetings, you go talk to your families, your friends, say, hey, this is what we're discussing. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Hopefully you're involved in the community more than just through city council, and you're talking to those, touch points, those connections. Because this is going to become, like I said, 2 years we built that, and we've had issues. It's always in the warm months, but that's the way things happen. The warm months are always just more excitable for people. But with the women's stall being ripped off, I mean, that is physical muscle to rip a stall door off of, a door off a stall. Yeah, that isn't just goofing off and slamming it too hard or playing tag real rough. That's damage.
Well, I want to be clear about what we're really considering here, because I don't want to be, I don't know. Is it appropriate for us to say, yeah, let's arrest them all? Like, that seems like I don't know these people, I don't know these circumstances, and we're not a jury here. So that's where I was like, what exactly are we considering? I mean, if there's a legal assessment being done on the ordinance, I think that's an appropriate thing
Well,
to
we haven't
consider.
gotten to chapter 18 yet, like the ordinance group. So I'm sure once we do, and that will probably be in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
I
at
would
the
say
most, the way you're going.
We're getting through them pretty well. All of these then come back to council. So this conversation will be helpful too as we actually get into that particular chapter. But I don't think it's one size fit all either. That's why I say, like, for me, it's follow the ordinance unless there's something major of like serious magnitude that is gonna cost a significant amount of money to replace, then go through the legal system. But that's just my thoughts. And like I said, I would like there to be a community service component if it's adult or child. I mean, if they can get out and pick up trash or help clean up the mess they made. Anything else on this one? No? Okay. Now we'll get to the city council regent sponsorship. Parker.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. So, in the past, the Regent does the free summer matinee film series. It's been happening for 20-some-odd years now at this point. One of the most popular film series that the Regent offers happens twice a day, Monday through Friday in the months of June, July, and August. Draws kids, families, not just from the Allegan community, but from elsewhere, sometimes by the bus load from different communities, different camps. Summer school offerings will bus kids in. It's quite a popular series. Each film is covered by a $300 sponsorship. There are 10 films, 10 weeks throughout this series. In the past, council members have donated one meeting's pay to this film series to then act as a sponsorship for a movie by the Allegan City Council. It happened periodically before my time at the Regent, and then pretty regularly since I have been there, specifically in this role at City Hall since 2017. So this is just an opportunity for discussion like we have each year at the council level to kind of talk out this sponsorship opportunity. I want to note too that the 9 of the 10 films selected are completely covered and sponsored. There's just one singular one that is left, so.
Okay, thank you, Parker.
I'm definitely,
Interested?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would maybe suggest that anyone who is interested, send Parker a message. Would that work? Like an email, a private email, and just say, yes, use one of mine, and then go from there? But is there just a general overall sense that we'd like to continue? Okay.
Yeah, the officialness that it came about here, I'm gonna flat out tell you that I don't like to be told what to do with my stuff. If you would have sent an email and said, hey, would you be interested? I probably would have said yes. To bring it up formally here, that's, I'm probably a no.
Understood.
This is something that doesn't need to come to the public. I just don't understand why it was handled this way.
Yeah,
I
and Mike,
think
this is just the way that it has come up before, but I think staff has, appreciates your perspective of that, and perhaps next year we can do something a little differently, if everybody's in agreement with that. So anyone that would like to donate one of their council paychecks, just send Parker an email, and then we will get that handled. What pay period would that typically be? Do you guys know? Just so people can have that in mind, like the next one or
Do you know?
for June?
It would just be with your next one. After you get all the yeses and nos that you need, then we'll just do it for the next.
At the upcoming meeting then? Yep.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Tracy.
Next, we have a review of our council agenda. Everybody have an opportunity to take a look at the agenda? Any additions, corrections, amendments, staff that need to be made? Only thing I need to note is that we do need to excuse Peter. He let Joel and Teresa and myself know that he would not be here this evening. So if I move too fast, please remind me. I'll try to remember. Okay. If there's nothing further, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 6:41. We will reconvene at 7 o'clock. regular city council meeting to order. Michaela, could we get a roll call, please?
Sure. Councilmember Zeter. Councilmember Hands. Councilmember Byrd.
Here.
Councilmember Redding.
Here?
Councilmember Morgan. Mayor Pro Tem Galloway.
Here.
And Mayor Andrus.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I will now entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Hance.
So moved. Support.
It has been moved and supported in stereo. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next agenda item is number 3, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please rise and join me in the pledge. Thank you all. Next, under agenda item number 4, we have an approval of tonight's agenda. Under 4A is an approval of the regular council meeting agenda for May 9th. It was just brought to my attention that we do need to amend the agenda under 8A.1. The public hearing for the fiscal year budget is today, May 9th, 2022. So could I get a motion, please, to approve the agenda as amended?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Council, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, under agenda item number 5, we have an approval of minutes. Under 5A is an approval of the study session minutes from April 25th, 2022. Council or staff, did we have any additions or corrections to those those minutes?
I'd like to offer the correction to my discussion point under roundtable, just to include the question about agendas and minutes for the Riverfront Design Committee.
Thank you, Dave. Could I get a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
It has been moved and supported. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Under 5B, we have an approval of the regular meeting minutes from April 25th. Same question, council and staff, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve as presented, please?
So moved.
It has been moved and supported. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Under 5C, we have an approval of the budget meeting minutes from April 27th, 2022. Any additions or corrections, council, staff? Could I get a motion to approve, please?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, under agenda item number 8, we have public hearings and adoption of ordinances. Under 8A.1, there's a request to hold a public hearing for May 9th, 2022, to receive public comment on the adoption of the fiscal year 2023 Allegan City Budget. Staff?
Yeah, I'm going to just kick this off real quick for procedural reasons. To remind council, tonight, you're only holding the public hearing. It's to receive comments. This does not, you will not be taking any motions or actions on this. That happens at your second meeting in May. On the screen in your packet was the report and also the fiscal year 23 general budget. As you can see, we're projecting to bring in $20,420,100, roughly $20 million in revenue. Our expenditures are going to be just shy of that $20 million that we bring in. You spent the past few months reviewing the budget with staff. Most recently, you had your budget your budget discussions over the past, several weeks here on, for special meetings. Tracy is here if there's any specific questions that council may have before you open the floor to receive comment. Comments that are received tonight, staff will write those down and come back to council with, answers to those questions or comments at your next meeting.
Thank you, Joel. Tracy, did you have anything to add?
Nope, not at this time. I'm always available by email, phone, whatever, if anybody has any questions specifically, so.
Council, did you have any questions for staff at this time? Dave?
on that cover sheet, the table we've got up here, on the fund balance column, when things are in parentheses like that, that means they're negative, right?
Correct.
So what does that mean for the funds that have that fund balance negative?
So that means that we're using that much of that fund balance for this fiscal year. Either for a project or we're balanced operationally. And then when we add capital projects in, that's when the negative numbers might come in.
So we're projecting for this next fiscal year that we'll have a negative general fund balance?
No,
or-
we're using $503,000 of the general fund's balance. And so, and then in the budget on, there's a page that shows the ending fund balances for the fiscal year, and I think we end up at, hold on, I have it open.
So what you're saying is we have excess funds in the fund balance this year.
Correct.
Next year, we'll have $500,000 less at the end of the year in that general fund, and same for possibly Allegan DDA.
Correct.
Correct, so the general.
We're either.
Yeah, the general fund balance, the line you're referring to up there, 101. Last year, we ended with $2,830,060. This year, we're gonna end with $2,326,324. The city has a rule of thumb, we would like to keep our general fund balance above $1 million, so we're well north of that $1 million threshold.
And that's due to the upcoming projects that we have.
I was just asking what that,
Yep, that just means we're either using or adding to each of those fund balances.
Were there any other questions, council? Okay, seeing none, I will go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:07 PM. If anyone would like to come up to the podium and make a comment about our proposed 2023 budget, I will invite you to do so now. There is a sign-up sheet up there. You can put your name and address on. Seeing no comment on the fiscal year 2023 budget, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:07. Council, I don't think we do need to motion. We're gonna.
No, yep,
No?
thank you.
Yep. So we will be taking action on the proposed budget at the next council meeting. So any questions, as Tracy said and Joel said, make sure you get a hold of them before that next meeting. Next, we have 8A.2, which is a second reading and adoption of Ordinance 502 regarding off-road vehicles. This was a tabled item from our last meeting on April 25th. We did hold our public hearing on that date, but I will open the floor for public comment again tonight. Joel, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, very quickly. In short, since the last meeting, I have worked with our city attorney to develop an ordinance that would allow ORVs on the streets that I believe the majority of council would be willing to support. As you can see, the map on the screen, green represents the roads that an ORV would be allowed to operate on. Red are the roads that an ORV is not allowed to operate on. The city of Allegan is a very unique city in that we have the Kalamazoo River that meanders through here. We have 3 state trunk lines that converge on our downtown. State law does not allow ORVs to travel on state trunk lines unless they can be identified as a connector route by MDOT. As we discussed at the last meeting, a connector route has to have a minimum 8-foot wide shoulder. So we do not have those dimensions on our state trunk lines coming into the downtown. The best that we could get is allowing am I on the map over here? Thanks, dude. The best that we could do is allowing ORVs that come in from the north side to cross the Trestle Bridge, come through J.C. Park, and then cross 222 down Chestnut, and then they have access to a couple parking lots in this area, and then come up on Water, and they'd have access to the 2 fueling stations there. They could park downtown at the Cutler Street parking lot across the street from here, walk to Shandorf's. That's where a lot of people who eat at Shandorf's park to begin with. They could also walk down to the riverfront, et cetera. There was discussion currently, if you would free up Hubbard in your discussion here, currently people would be able to come down Ely Street and then jump across M40, M89 onto Hubbard. However, when the roundabout is installed there in 2025, you won't be able to cross that. You'd have to enter into the flow of traffic. That won't have the 8-foot shoulders when that's designed. So that, at that time, it will become a moot point, and your access goes back to just coming in across Trestle Trail. If you move forward with this tonight, we're currently having an engineer give us an estimate on what it would be to establish a weight limit on Trestle Trail. The bridge was constructed for locomotives. I personally don't see how, the weight wouldn't be able to sustain, or that bridge wouldn't be able to sustain ORVs, so I think we'd be okay there, but we're just gonna do our due diligence there, and then we would have to invest some money building a connector between Trestle Trail and either the J.C. Park Drive or the Police Station Drive.
Joel, could you also speak to the recent language that we received from Nick?
So to make sure that our ordinances are defensible, we have to work within certain parameters when it comes to definitions. We can't just write our own definitions for words or for phrases. So for ORV, we have it to be any vehicle that has 2 to 4 wheels that uses an engine to be propelled. So we went away from an internal combustion engine just in case electric ORVs become a thing. We are able to do the 2 to 4 wheels and allow, and not allow items such as your hovercrafts, which was a concern of a couple council members because hovercrafts are in the original definition of an ORV. And so we're looking at 2 to 4 wheel vehicles, designed to go off-road to be allowed downtown.
Thank you, staff. Council, I'll start with you. Are there any questions for staff? Okay, seeing no questions.
Just to be clear on the map, with the motions we're making tonight, the Trestle Trail right now is green, but that wouldn't be allowed to have ORVs on it?
So to be clear, the Trestle Trail is not considered a city road. So if you move forward and you approve this tonight, we will be coming back at your next meeting with a resolution to identify the Trestle Trail as a multi-use trail that allows pedestrians, bicyclists, golf carts, and ORVs. Because right now, we need to take that step to really solidify that connector from North Street to Chestnut Street, more or less. But since it's not an actual street, you could take the motion. The ordinance in the city of Allegan takes 21 days before it goes into effect. So we would have time to come back with a resolution to clarify that.
But the actions we take tonight, that wouldn't be, the Trestle Trail wouldn't be included for that allowed.
Correct, because the ordinance that you're voting on is to allow ORVs on city streets, and the Trestle Trail is not considered a city street. The map that's in front of you is just a graphic depiction to show people how someone could still access the downtown on an ORV if we move forward with, allowing them on the Trestle Trail.
So to confirm for those in the audience that may or may not have caught it, I know there were some concerns about four-wheelers. With the ordinance as it is written today, those would be allowed. So 2 4-wheels, so two-wheel vehicles, 3-wheel vehicles, and 4-wheel vehicles, as well as your typical side-by-sides and things. So if there's no further questions from council, I will go ahead and open the floor to public comment. As I noted earlier, there is a sign-up sheet, so if you could just state your name to us, but then write your name and your address on there, we'd appreciate it for a minute taking. Is there any public comment? Okay, come on up.
Hi, I'm Dan Kaywood, and I just have a question as to why those streets are in red, why the downtown area is cut off. I don't understand, I guess. I'm pretty sure that any of the business owners down there don't care who's in those parking spots as long as they're spending money at their businesses. I don't I mean, is it a safety issue? Where is this coming from, I guess? is my
So,
question.
do you want me to answer some of these questions, or this?
Sure, I was just gonna tell Mr. Kaywood that typically we do not interact during public comment. It's just an opportunity for you to speak and for us to hear you. But Joel, if you'd like to speak, you may.
So, just the way the traffic flows, first of all, these streets that are highlighted by the arrow right now
Yep.
are state trunk lines.
Yes, I
So
understand
no
that.
ORV can't be on there to begin with.
Okay,
To get into the downtown, your points of access really are only through the Trestle Trail across 222 onto Chestnut, or you could come Ely and jump across onto Hubbard.
Yep.
However, Hubbard's one way in. It's not bi-directional. So once you come in this way, you can't leave this way. So that's why this street really is a difficult street to make, open for ORVs. I would also offer, when you're downtown, which I'm sure you've been downtown multiple times, it's a tight-knit downtown. You can park in a parking lot and walk the block and a half to the restaurant, to the store. Most people don't get to park right in front of the store they're at. So you would still have access to the downtown. The Cutler Street parking lot, which is that parking lot right there,
Yes.
is maybe 100 feet to Shane Dorf's front door. It's 150 feet, to the
what
Regent
about the
Theater.
ones over on this end of town?
300 feet.
It's more than that. In weather or something like that, you're just, in my opinion, you're slamming the door on your business person's faces.
Okay. But I was saying the
It's not
discussion.
fair to 'em.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Sir, come on up. And if you could again state your name for us, but then write your name and address down, please, on that sign-up sheet.
I sure will. My name is Shane Kellum. I'm at 3870 126th in Allegan. So obviously, I'm here to support the ordinance. My wife and I, we've ridden ORVs all over the state of Michigan, other states. Who's the echo? I've ridden since I was 12 years old. 35 years of riding ORVs all over. I represent a social media group that we started a while back with over 200 members, all in Allen County, who ride. Most of them are, I think it's fair to say that we'd rather ride out in the country. We'd rather ride out in the dirt roads on the two tracks, That's our goal. But occasionally we do like to come into town. I have group rides with 20 people or so. And yeah, we want to come in downtown. We want to get food. We got to get gas. So I appreciate that you did open it that as far as you did, allow us to get gas and stuff. But I would like to really see everything from Chestnut Street east opened. When we come into town there, I don't see there's any reason that we can't continue Chestnut Street all the way down to Tantric. Where that's at in the corner, and then everything east up to the water. Last week, my wife and I walked around downtown and spoke to as many business owners as we could down there with zero resistance. Everybody wanted it. There was one that she really didn't care for. But everybody else was fully on board. She got a lot of signatures. A lot of people didn't want to sign it because they didn't know the maps. They said, well, what are we signing? So I don't really know yet. So everybody would sign it. And if you need me to get the rest of the signatures from the rest of the business, I will. Everybody agreed verbally, yes, we want it down here. There's no reason we can't have it down here. Today, I even went and talked to a few more, and they are fully on board with us bringing our business down to them. In a couple weeks, I'm going on a Vets ride up north. And there's a lot of people on these machines that can't walk the 3 or 4 blocks, I would like to see, if I could host a Vets ride up here or something like that. There's a lot of elderly people that can't walk well. So if I could bring these people right up to the front door of Tantric or right downtown and get ice cream, I would love that. I don't want to have to see them go to the parking lot and then walk 4 or 5 blocks. So, I mean, I think you guys have done a great job, but I just would like to see the roads go a little bit farther. So that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up, Tanya. Please state your name.
Tanya from Tantric.
Thank you.
And I would echo what was just said. I think that we all know you guys have been working on this for a long time, and I appreciate your efforts to try to make sure everybody's included in the discussion. I do think you probably could open up a few more roads downtown, especially since we're on the other side from where you're allowing people to come in. Obviously, we have an interest in making it as easy as we can for people to come to our door. To me, it's not much different than the, group of bikers that come down Hubbard Street every weekend. Those are just as loud. They're 2 wheels. They're probably louder, actually. So that's my thought, and appreciate you taking the time to listen. I'll write my name down.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment this evening? Alex, you'll be next. There's a gentleman right behind you. Oh,
Alex Wilkening. Thank you guys for doing this. I kind of expected it to be a little bit more open when I showed up my first time being able to get here since this discussion really started. I own the restaurant attached to Tantric, so of course I have an interest in letting people get all the way to the riverfront. Not that I don't want Schaendorf to get all of the business from this, but I would like a piece of the pie too. And I think everybody would agree, at least from what I've seen in this room, that bringing people with disposable income into our entertainment and retail districts is a good thing. And I would argue that most of the people who are ORV people have disposable income, and this is what they spend it on. And so I would love to see at least one street that gets to the riverfront, just so that there is access to get all the way down to the businesses that are located on Hubbard and the future businesses that are being planned and currently in development that are going to be on Hubbard and Brady Street. So that's my comment. Thank you.
thank you. And you're next, sir.
Thank you. Jameson Birchfield, 4939 132nd Avenue, Hamilton. I want to thank you for the time that you guys have put into this, and I think it's a step in the right direction. It could certainly be a little bit better. I agree with everyone on getting a little better access to the Tantric area, the east side. We spent a lot of time down here this past weekend and just walked around and kind of took it all in, and knowing that the meeting was tonight, frequented a couple restaurants and spent a bit of money down here, and we talked a lot about just how much business could be brought here that we're not getting now. And I think that what I've seen in South Haven and in Hamilton and other small towns with the RVs and the golf carts and just the families getting together and going outside and enjoying it, I think it'd be really good for Allegan. And again, I appreciate the effort you guys have put into it, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. I'm a little concerned that we're worried about one of the access points being a possible change in road structure 3 years from now, possibly holding up additional access points. I think that might be something that we could think about a little bit better. But I do appreciate the fact that you are trying to get machines downtown, you're trying to get families out, and you're trying to have us come down and support the businesses. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Scott, come on up.
Hello again, everybody. I'm Scott Beltman. Joel, I know you don't engage, but is there any way that you could put up the definitions of the ordinance just to make sure? Are we including four-wheelers to make sure? Because the way I read it, it was straddled vehicles were excluded. Is it not?
So the new definition that we worked on over the weekend,
Okay, then it changed since the packet?
yes.
Okay. I
Came
did
in
not
this
see
morning.
that. Okay, I did not see that.
Yeah.
Thank you for including those to the council and to staff. Second thing would be, I would lean towards or to encourage you to open Hubbard to Ely. At least that's a way in. And if we get the trestle bridge open, that'll be a way out. It'll be a nice loop. A lot of these rides go in a loop. You don't want to necessarily go back the same way you came. I know Mr. Zetter rides up north, and I think he can attest to that. And I think that just makes more sense. And if that does happen 3-4 years from now, that traffic circle, then we'll have to look at other options as a group. And I would encourage also to open Chestnut East all the way to the riverfront, so we can get to his restaurant, we can get to Tantric, we can get to the ice cream shop without walking, you know. I mean, when I take my mom, she's 82 years old, she's not gonna walk down there for ice cream. And by the time I walk back, it's gonna be melted. So we want a little closer access than what you're proposing. So I'll leave it at that for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment this evening? Okay. Seeing none. Council, it is now up to us, so we can make a motion. Remember, they do need to be made in the affirmative. You can make a motion with amendments if you would like, and then we can discuss those amendments. But in order to, go ahead, Joel. Nothing? Would anyone like to make a motion? Would you like to have further discussion prior to the motion?
You really can't do that either.
I know, I'm just
But
trying.
and that's what Park, I'm like, it's gonna get really ugly in note-taking here, so take good notes.
All right, I will move to adopt ordinance 502 in its recent iteration that we did receive this morning. That does include 2 and 3 and 4-wheel ORVs.
Support.
Okay, now we can discuss. Is there any discussion about the ordinance as it was presented to us? Or as a council, are we happy with the way that it is now written? Understanding that there may be a resolution within the next couple weeks to open the trestle bridge after it's assessed for weight limits. Go ahead, Teresa.
I would like to see it, for now, access down Ely Street and down Hubbard Street, at least to Chestnut. Just to give Tantric and a closer access to the ice cream, and we're forgetting about Sherwood's Cove down there. That's a long walk to Sherwood's Cove. We got another restaurant coming, hopefully. So I don't know if that's a possibility to open up for now Ely and Hubbard and the rest of Chestnut.
Dave, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I would be supportive of that. I mean, I wouldn't say it was directly part of the conversation about which roads got restricted. So I'm curious if the reasons for restricting the road, if folks feel the same about the goals that they were trying to go for there. Like if we were to open up some of these other roads, you know, have opinions shifted on those roads and what the goals were, or I'm kind of curious, folks who are more involved in that discussion, where they're at.
I'm open to all the roads downtown being open personally,
Me too.
but having heard from a couple different council members and understanding that there were other conversations that were held as well that I wasn't a party to, there was concern about having ORVs on the downtown streets. So we tried to compromise.
I would support that amendment, Teresa's amendment.
So to clarify, that would be to open Hubbard to Chestnut?
And opening Chestnut, so that people could access in the riverfront and the new businesses coming in.
Just to help you get your bearings. First of all, Ely is open. Ely is in here. So if you're opening Hubbard to Chestnut, you're opening Hubbard past Walnut. This is the county courthouse.
That is correct.
Chestnut's right here. That means you're not letting people get to these businesses. So is it Hubbard to Chestnut, or is it Hubbard down to Locust
saying-
or Water?
I'm saying Hubbard all the way to Water, but
Hubbard all the way to Water.
That's not what you said a minute ago.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to be clear, and I will just ask for
I
clarification.
said Hubbard because we want to include, I'm sorry, but
And Water Street, there's not a lot of businesses on there to even object, so why not open that street?
That is open, I believe.
No,
Water,
just the north part. Sorry, I didn't mean to say no, that's rude. Just the north part between Cutler and Grand or Monroe at that point.
just a little bitty over
So-
here, Delora.
here's my question. Who is opposed to opening up the downtown entirely? Like,
My concern has been primarily Locust Street. But honestly, seeing the signatures from downtown business owners, the people that I have talked to before this were not in favor of having ORVs downtown. Seeing all of the downtown businesses that are in favor of it makes me more open to allowing ORVs downtown.
full stop, Roger? So anywhere in the downtown corridor?
I'm not, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me a minute.
Bill, did you have any thoughts?
I do.
Okay, may I hear them, please?
The, opening up Water Street from, what is that, Trowbridge, back towards, I don't have a problem with that at all. That gives them parking. There's a parking lot next to Payroll store. That's wide open to that. The parking's what bothers me. I don't want ATVs sitting in front of my store. Number one thing, the people coming to my business aren't gonna be any of these people out here riding their, machines. They're going to restaurants, they're going to gas stations. They aren't going to any of the other businesses, but yet they're taking parking places up from the people that are going to be going to those businesses. I don't know who he contacted, but he didn't contact me, he didn't contact my wife. So I don't know who else he contacted up and down Locust Street. He said he's got all kinds of them. It never came to my place and talked to me, nor to my wife's place. But I have no problem going down to Water Street and taking it back towards Village Market. That, I think, was a very good way.
That's what I'm thinking.
Saying Hubbard to Water, is that what you're saying?
Hubbard to Water Street, and then Water Street north. Of course, they can't get out of town there. Oh, yeah, they can. They can go over there if they open up the trestle bridge and go across. So they have two parking lots to park in.
So right now, the discussion is to open Hubbard Street to Water Street and then open Water Street completely.
I think so. There's no sense of stopping there. Then they've got a loop to go right on around. Then they go up.
So then, though, we're only looking at Locust being closed and Brady being closed and Trowbridge being closed.
All the streets going north, other than Water Street.
Open Chestnut so you can come straight down the Trestle Bridge.
And it leaves parking for the individual residents to go to the businesses downtown and not being plugged up by ATVs or whatever acronym you want to use for them.
So what if we would just exclude Locust Street? What do you
How
guys,
about excluding on-street parking and just have them parking in the parking lots?
yeah, that's a thought too.
I think some of those vehicles, you could fit multiple ones into a parking spot versus
How
everybody
you gonna-
driving a
Oh,
vehicle.
yeah, they can have two in there or whatever if they want to, but still. You're taking up a parking spot that's gonna go to Landria's or come into my place or my wife's or something. And what are you smiling at?
Okay, so
We're all entitled to our own opinions, and that's my
yes,
opinion.
absolutely.
So was that an official amendment that Teresa made?
No.
No, so we don't have to deal with that.
So the motion on the floor is to adopt the ordinance as it is, which is the language we got from Nick, defining an ORV, and with Cutler Street from Chestnut Street to North Cedar Street, Trowbridge Street from Water Street to North Cedar. I don't know if you've got that up there, Joel. Hubbard from Water to North Cedar, Walnut, Chestnut. So all the language is in our packet. And the option is, and I will reiterate someone else's phrase, that this is a living document, we can change it.
That's true.
So you
There-
could open it up, and if it becomes a problem, close down streets.
True.
There are some parts of the streets that, I mean, you can't create an ordinance that just doesn't fly on its face. So you have to at least prohibit Cutler Street from Walnut to North Cedar. That's that one block as you're coming up to that light, because it's one way out only. And, you know, people can't turn there because then they have to do a U-turn. And then they're going the wrong way against traffic. They can get cited for that. Plus, when you get to that light, it's 3 state trunk lines. So that one block, we can't say, yeah, you have an ORV on there, because there's just no way to make that work.
All right, so let's move this forward. So I make a motion to,
There's a motion on the table.
Oh, what's
I
the
mean, there's a
motion?
motion on the floor.
I want to, so I just need to amend the, can I?
I would make an amendment to the motion,
All right, so I want to
correct?
make an amendment to the motion. To open up our downtown streets.
Could I offer removal of points 2 through 8 in section 28-182?
Let me get there.
So that would be the listing of each of the streets minus the one that's Cutler from Chestnut to North Cedar.
Yeah. Just removing, what, 1 through 8?
2 through 8. One was the,
Oh, there, okay, 2 through 8. All right, so I propose an amendment removing items 2 through 8 under section 28-182.
support.
There is an amendment to the original motion that has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion about that amendment? So to clarify, the downtown is open except from Chestnut to Cutler, or from Cutler
Street,
from
from Chestnut to North
Chestnut
Cedar.
to North Cedar.
Yeah, the part of Cutler
Street.
that's one way and just one way out.
There's no further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. No. Motion carries. Next up, we're going to move down to public comment.
I know that's inappropriate, but thank you, council, for making this happen. I know you put a lot of time into it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any public comment for items that are not on tonight's agenda? Alex?
I love you all, and there's nothing that you can do about it.
So next up, we have agenda item number 10, which is written petitions and reports from special committees. Under 10A, we have a request from Allegan Youth Baseball. Is that Joel or Doug?
I believe there's a representative from Allegan Youth Baseball.
Oh, wonderful.
Come on up.
I forgot to sign this.
Oh, thank you. Joel, do you want to give us a rundown real quick?
Sure. As this is a typical request that the city receives from various nonprofits that are looking to do some fundraising through the Michigan State Gaming Agency.
Yep.
Rock and roll. And so they're here tonight to make a request that you have to approve so they can do some fundraising.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm Heather Rhodes. I am the president of our Allegan Youth Baseball and Softball program this year. We have sent in our, our petition or whatever, a request to the State Gaming Council, and they wanted us to get on your guys' agenda because it's going to take them a second to get us the tickets and everything to sell. What we were looking for is to sell a quarter of a cow or raffle off a quarter of a cow, so the beef, for our program. We were given the program in the red, so we're really trying to fight hard to keep the cost down for the players and find something that could really help our program grow. The cow is going to be donated to us, so there's no cost for us in that. And then really just kind of helping the community out also, because we do also have it listed. I don't know if you guys have our letter, but it does say that we have a family also that is battling sarcoma. In years past, we had another family that was going through breast cancer, and we did fundraisers for them. So we're kind of just looking to you guys for an acceptance of us wanting to do the raffle, if that's okay with you guys, and then also any other fundraisers that we have talked about, we've listed down for you guys to see, and then also a recognition that we are an actual organization, and that's what the state game is asking from you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Council, do you have any questions at all? Seeing no questions, could I get a motion to approve the request and to recognize Allegan Youth Baseball as an entity?
So moved.
Support. Thank you.
That was good.
That was good. Is there any discussion, council? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you. Sorry I'm all dusty. I was just out at the field. So.
No problem. Thanks for coming in. Next, we have agenda item number 11, which is reports from boards, commissions, and city offices. Under 11A, city boards, commissions, and area agencies, we have 11A.1, which is a historic district commission May meeting update. Dave?
Yeah, so the HDC had one approval. It was for a sign that met all of the conditions, and so we supported moving it forward. And then the study group continued in their work and plan to continue moving forward.
Thank you. Next, we have 11B, which is our finance department. Under 11B.1, a request to approve accounts payable and payroll. Teresa?
Okay. Get there. All right, we have accounts payable in the amount of $129,861.86. Let's start that over. $129,821.86. And payroll was in the amount of $99,228.76. The total disbursement was $229,050.62. Motion to approve.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Is there any discussion, council? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, under 11D is our water utilities department. 11D.1 is a request to approve the purchase of equipment to replace lead service lines.
Hello, council.
Coming up.
I am asking, instead of approval of each individual piece of equipment, to approve a dollar amount of $190,000, not to exceed that. Main reason is supply chain. New drills are not coming out till October. Nobody's trading in drills. So, issue we had just a few weeks ago, I went and looked at a drill. they wanted money down. I can't, I'm a municipality, I can't put money down and then wait for approval from you guys. And the used ones are just going right off the shelf. So if I find a drill and then have to wait a week, 2 weeks for approval, that drill might be gone. So that's why we're asking to approve a dollar amount instead of each individual piece of equipment.
Thank you. Joel, did you have anything else to add?
No, I just, as Sean mentioned, it's atypical going this route, but in the current economic climate we're in, this is an area where we need to be prepared to act, or we're losing out on items. All of these items are in the budget, so we're not asking you to, go above what's already been budgeted. So this is, something we need to get going so we can get working on these lead service lines yet this summer.
Right, I think we're slated to begin with the Booker funds in September. But with the equipment coming in now and the new crew coming in, training, everything like that, we'll be ready to rock and roll in September.
And Sean, I heard from Zach and Brian over there that you
Yep.
guys have hired 2 of the 3.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And we have 3 interviews Wednesday.
Okay, well, great. That's good.
Yeah, that was a concern to see if we could get people to come to work, but no, we had lots of good applicants, so.
Excellent. Any other questions, Council? Mike?
Do you have a piece of equipment in mind if this is approved?
So the way we're wanting to install these is with the directional drill. So that there's less tear up of people's yards. You got a hole, you got an entrance hole, you got an exit hole, you drill underground. So directional drill is the big piece of equipment. Along with that is we have to have a trailer. With these drills, you have to have a locator, and then I'm wanting a mini excavator. A backhoe to get up in people's yards, dig up around houses is just a little too cumbersome. So a mini excavator would be perfect for that. With that, I'm hoping to only buy 1 trailer and be able to transport both the drill and mini excavator on that, till I come across a piece of equipment that I would fit. Right now it's 2 trailers.
Yeah, on page 324 of the packet, you saw a table in the report that listed each of the pieces of equipment and the estimated cost, and they all add up to 190.
Thank you. Were there any further questions, Council? No?
Thanks.
Thank you. Seeing none, could I get a motion, please, to approve the request of equipment?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thanks, Sean. Under 11E, Public Works, we have 11E.1, which is a request to authorize a purchase order for a truck and trailer in the amount of $27,994. Hi, Doug.
Good evening.
Sorry.
The current fiscal year contains $50,000, which we were hoping to get a refurbished aerial lift truck. We're not able to find one, so we took what we felt the next best option, get the current one refurbished with a new box. The aerial's gonna stay, the cabin chassis is gonna stay, we're just gonna get a new service box on it. So we reached out to Truck and Trailer, they provided us a quote. They say if we can order it yet this week, they can have it delivered and installed probably around Christmas time.
Wow.
Well, new one's about, a year out, so.
Thanks, Doug. So in the budget, it's budgeted for 50,000 for a
Yes.
replacement?
Yes.
Okay. So saving about 20 some with a refurbish. Any other questions, Council? Go ahead, Roger.
So if we're waiting 6 months to get this refurbished, it's not worth just waiting a year to get a new one?
If we can get a new one.
If we can get a new one?
Yeah.
There's no.
Nobody's
guarantee.
promising anything right now.
Uh-huh.
And right now, all they're getting is the service box. They're gonna remove the existing aerial, mount the new box, remount the existing aerial back on it, so.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Are there any further questions? Seeing none, could I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Next, we have 11E.2, which is a request to authorize a purchase order for Hydro-Chem in the amount of $6,001.05.
Also at the DPW, we have a pressurized heated washer. We use that for cleaning our equipment. Earlier this year, the heater went out on it, and now the engines, the motor parts giving us some issues. So we reached out to companies. It was about $2,700 to $3,000 to get a refurbished heater. So we figured, why not just get a whole replacement unit? That's about half the price of a replacement unit. So we did reach out to two companies. Hydro-Chem came in at the low bid.
Thanks, Doug. Any questions at all? Seeing no questions, could I get a motion to approve the purchase order, please?
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. And last one for you, Doug, 11E.3, a request to authorize surplus items to be sold at auction.
Now we're gonna try and get some money into the city by auctioning off the equipment that's on the second page. We're just asking you to give us the okay to declare these surplus equipment materials and auction them off. We go through RepoCast, I believe, or Ranger bid, the Meadum company.
Thank you. How much you want for that pontoon? I'm kidding. Just kidding. Are there any questions, council?
Is there any minimums on this, or it's just liquidated?
Generally, no.
Okay.
This is, somebody brought this up to me the other day who's involved in a lot of collector type stuff. Are we gonna be auctioning off or offering some of the pieces of the iron bridge, like the grating that would get replaced? Have we considered that at all, or?
Haven't considered it.
I mean, there's collectors out there that are after all kinds of stuff, so just a thought that had come my way, and this was an agenda item, so I just wanted to bring it up as an item here. There might be some interest in that. It's a historic bridge, people know about it, and I think it's the type of bridge for the size for it to still be in service is rare too across the country, so just thought I'd offer that.
We can look in to see, I mean, the grading's gone, but we can see where the grading might be. It's just, it's not here right now.
Generally, the way the contract's worded, though, is the contractor is responsible for removing it and disposing it at his expense.
Okay.
I mean, if you're interested, we can always look into getting some parts if they are available.
But that's something to keep in mind, like next year when we do the streetscape.
Sure.
The street lamps.
Yeah.
Those could have some serious sentimental value to people.
Yeah.
That's something to keep in mind, so please remind us when we get to that part in the next few months, or we'll remember ourselves, but that's never thought of it that way. The one area we want to be concerned on is not scratching friends' backs. Like, I can't, let my cousin come down here, who might be a collector. We have to work something way, so there's, but I'm sure there's a solution.
I would think it would go through similar, I mean, we would have that same issue for
Like
camp.
Ranger bed, but let people know.
Yeah.
Is the grading original to the bridge?
No, it's been replaced multiple times. But
Again,
yeah,
somebody, it wasn't, I didn't want the
Yeah.
grading, but somebody talked to me about it.
there's
so
still
I thought-
sentimental value to those people, is sure, so, yeah.
Any other questions for Doug regarding the surplus items? Seeing none, could I get a motion, please?
So move.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thanks, Doug. Next, we move down to agenda item number 13, which is communications from city manager, council, and mayor. Joel, did you have anything tonight?
Not at this time.
Staff, anything else?
We ran a successful election last week, so we're just waiting on those results to be verified, but everything went smoothly.
Good to hear. Thank you and all the staff for their work on that. Parker, anything from you tonight?
Yeah, coming up this Friday at the Griswold, the Gordon Lightfoot Tribute Act is making a stop in Allegan on its Michigan tour. It's a statewide tour, and the Griswold will be a stop this coming Friday. Tickets are still just $10, and then day of, they'll go up to $15. But the show starts at 7 o'clock. That should be a really good time. It's our reintroduction to live entertainment at the Griswold since the start of the pandemic, so it's a good sign. And then next weekend at the Allegan County Fairgrounds is the first annual Allegan Beer, Blues, and Barbecue Festival. That's an event that the city is supporting. The Allegan JCs and Tantric Brewing Company are the hosts. There'll be 16 different breweries, 5 different barbecue trucks, some live blues music. That'll be all at the fairgrounds, and tickets are available online, just like the Gordon Lightfoot show. So 2 events coming up that will kick off the rest of the summer's events.
Thanks, Parker. Doug or Sean, did you have anything? No? Bill, anything from you this evening?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Dave? Roger?
Excited for good weather and rolling on the river and downtown events. Pretty excited.
Me too. Teresa? Anything?
Just went to Arbor Day with the mayor and Lori and Doug, and that was fun to meet Eric Nesbitt, who was there with Joel, and see our beautiful tree. It's a very nice tree, so kudos to, I'm sure Lori did it, but yeah, very nice. That was a fun event. Simple, but fun, so.
Thanks, Teresa.
Michaela, what was the final count on the vote turnout?
I can email that to you. I don't know it right off the top of my head.
Do you have just a rough ballpark?
So ballots tabulated, we had 415.
So that's a really good turnout for an off.
Yeah, I know that both passed, at
Okay.
least in the city, so.
Very nice.
Thank you. And just a couple things from me. I attended the groundbreaking for Safe Harbor today. Very exciting. I'm very proud of the city for being involved in that project and getting that lot to them. And also, I know we had discussed at a few meetings ago a council training by Nick Curcio, and we'd had a couple dates that we had thought either May 18th or the 25th, and it has come back that he's available on the 25th. So hopefully everyone is available that evening still, and,
I'll send an email out
Okay.
tomorrow. I've already disconnected.
okay. It's a Wednesday. Not that I'm aware of. Great, all right, well, I will go ahead and adjourn. I will adjourn at 7:58. Thank you.